It's quite simple. Pick these up. Make sure you got them right in front of you. Then go to your keyboard, open up the chat, put your name, your email address, your cell phone number. Why? Because there may just be 9 of us right now. There are about 20, 25 people registered as other people are coming in right away. I got a co-host, one of my brothers from another mother, one of my other coaches, Matt Houston, is riding shotgun as co-host. He's going to make sure to let people in. You're going to be able to take away the contact information for everybody else. Follow up, build other business relationships. This is, after all, part of what we're here to do today when we talk about shifting business, is that when you invest in the right relationships, business starts to grow. When you think about your cash money in your business, things start to grow. When you sell a little more, when you market a little more, when you invest in good people, things start to grow. So make sure you've got these. Make sure your contact information goes in the chat. You save it at the end. And I'm going to give you one last piece of advice / homework as well. When it comes to the end of the next hour and 57 minutes, you should have a lot of notes. So whenever I said you're going to need to give yourself permission to do something, one, take these notes, have a really good look at them today, and then put them away and come back to them on Monday. Why I suggest doing that is that you want time for your brain to process. There's going to be a lot more information than what you're going to be able to transact on. But secondly, when you do come back to it on Monday, you want to start to create it as an actionable item. Many people come to events just like this. Now we know some of the biggest in the world, names like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, etc., where people come in and they spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to get this kind of information. And then what do they do with it? They take it away all excited while they were there. And then it is a day, a week, a month, an entire year. And that cost, that time, that investment that they made, of course, of themselves, for themselves, did not hold any real value other than how they felt in the moment of doing it. Why? Because it's quite simple. They chose not to take action. So I want you to give yourself permission to follow up and take action on what you have here, but give your brain some time to absorb, percolate, rotate, sift, sort. Because at the end of the day, these are really simple principles, but simple principles help to govern massive returns on results. So the last thing I will ask you to give yourself permission to do today is this: be ready to shift your business. Because when I say shift, what's interesting to note, and once again, it's not just Tony Robbins. Many people have made this analogy as well, but I like the way he does it best, so I'm going to quote him for a moment. He's having a really bad day playing golf, and his ball's going all over the place. And he just played the day before, and things were going really well. And who's his golf partner? A golf pro. Somebody who plays on the PGA and is also a trainer, and he works with people and helps them. And all this guy is doing is he is being the opposite of helpful. He continues to say things over and over again like, oh, that was bad. Oh, that was a terrible shot. Ah, oh, ain't that the shits? And Tony gets frustrated and goes, fine, you're such a pro at this. What am I doing wrong? He goes, actually, you're doing very little wrong. He goes, well, you could have fooled me. Every time I hit the ball, it's going here, it's going there, it's slicing, it's hooking, it's going all over the place. He goes, well, actually, what you're doing is you're doing almost everything right except one tiny little thing. As soon as the club, and if you ever had a good look at a golf club or you play golf, you know what I'm talking about. Clubs can change from straight up, putters and stuff like that, to wedges, really severe angles, 72, 73, 78 degrees. And he goes, the moment the club comes down and makes contact with that tiny little ball, if it's that angle of that club is only off by 1 or 2 degrees, that starts to create that change in trajectory. So where it starts at the point of impact, here's the ball, and that club comes down and it changes just a little bit like this or a little bit like this. That starts to change where the ball is going to go. So you don't notice it at the front, but you certainly notice it way off in the distance. So when I talk about you giving yourself permission about something, and I say this is going to be really simple, our businesses don't require much more than really simple. But the effect, the return, where business starts to magnify, grow, or where we make real shifts in business, comes because the way we approach the ball has changed its alignment just that little by that 1%, which means that most businesses are an accumulation of small changes that create enormous impacts off in the future. And the faster you work to magnify them now, the better, or the more quickly you're going to have the reward of seeing a change or impact come into your business. So, last warning, make sure your contact information is up in the chat. When you've got the chat window open, You're going to see, it's going to say to everyone, or you can message people privately. If you would happen to have the option to be able to attach a file, I don't think you should have the option to attach a file. I didn't say you could do that, but hey, if it's there, knock yourself out. Start dropping PDFs in there. I don't know what, but go for it. If you feel obliged, it's Friday afternoon. I give you permission to share documentation with each other. But you need those 3 little dots, that little ellipses next to it. At the end of the day, you need to click on that. The first option that's going to come up and be highlighted says save chat. Save it. Follow up with people here. Because this will be, today we're talking about 5 things, and I'm going to get started in about 90 seconds on those. But there's a 6th bonus one, and you're getting the bonus one first. Business relationships continue to be a proven, measurable, and a method to govern the formula for success in business. Meaning the better the relationships you have with the people in your business, the people you surround yourself with, and the people that you allow to put influence into the middle, the more regular, consistent, and accelerated success in business becomes. The adage that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you keep company with also holds true in your business. If your relationship with your spouse or your partner is incredibly strong and they have, quote unquote, got your back, business will start to accelerate. If your family and friends accept, nurture, and support you in your development and growth in business, business will start to accelerate and grow. And if the employees that you pick are on the same mission, are willing to follow you, business will succeed. And the people you choose in your proximity, that you can share ideas, advice, and suggestions to make you better at what you do, builds business success. And those people that can teach you, mentor you how to do things will do that. So there's the 6th secret for today, and that's coming first. And I really don't mean it by secrets, because there's nothing secret about this. Thanks to the advent of these devices right now, at any given time, much of this information you can find by simply using your thumbs and doing more than looking at cat and dog videos, conspiracy theories, what they're putting in the vaccines that we've got right now, or in the case of, if you happen to be Canadian, we're pretty excited because NHL playoff hockey is coming up right away. So yes, this will be a little timely for anybody that watches this specific video in the future. So YouTube, know that this was in the spring of 2021. And we were all excited for hockey, and people that really weren't hockey fans are still pretty excited because it's infectious. So that 6th secret, or the 6th takeaway we just gave you first, make sure when you look at the people you add to your business, and we'll talk about the people that you actually bring into your business here in a little bit, that they're on the same mission, and the people that you put around you, or that sum total, the 5 other people around you, are similar to you enough that you're able to use each other to develop strength, make up for deficiencies and weaknesses, and that you can learn how to do things you don't know how to do before. And then that magnification, that 1 to 2 degree tilt, that small change, that shift will start to create a magnification for your business. So shake it out, get this thing ready, because you're going to be writing. Now I'm going to give you the 5 things ahead of time. Now, each of these 5 things might have a couple of parts into it, and why I say you're going to want to have a look at it, let it sift, roll around, rotate it in your head, pull it apart, put it back together, is you want some time for your brain to make sense, because this is likely going to mean making at least a few changes for the way you do what you do every day for your business. Next, why I say to make sure to come back to it after, is that if you take these things and you do them in the order, if you will, or in the timeliness of it, as we do everything brand new to start with, you're learning likely to do something new. When you do something new the first time, you have to think about it. You have to be very conscious, very conscientious about the things you're doing. So it's mechanical. You have to think through the steps. It takes more time. It can get frustrating if the result doesn't turn up right away. But it is repetition of the process, which is why we make them really simple concept, really simple tool, really simple measurable. That if you continue to stick with it, it creates that impact of the small shift here for the massive change in trajectory that your business is going to have. So here's the 5 things that you need to have a much better understanding. So you're going to have that as of today. The 5 things that you need to have something that you're doing a little different, a little better in, and we're going to give you something in each of these right away. And more importantly, these 5 things, how to measure them just a little better. Because what's watched can be measured, and what's measured can begin to grow. And now we can create impact in our business. So these 5 things that we have to have that are absolute, these are the end stop for business, which means that survivability of your business is desperately important. Growth and development of your business is critically important for you to have these managed and measured. And success of your business will always come back to them. And I'll give you a short example to illustrate why each one is so desperately important. So the first one of the 5 is cash flow, money. Not just your financial strength or financial rectitude, but cash flow, the physical money that your business has got. I think we can all agree it feels a lot better when we got more cash in our pocket, in our bank account. We've got access to it. When something happens, we've got it ready and available. We don't have to borrow or get a loan or use our credit cards, do those other things that we seem to have built up a really bad habit over doing. So cash and cash flow, in other words, the way money moves through your business, is one of the big 5. If we can get cash flow to work right, business starts to grow, starts to accelerate, more importantly, becomes bulletproof. The second one is sales. Well, Mitch, this is obvious. If I sell more stuff, yeah, but the key thing about sales is it's not necessarily about selling more. It's the way you choose to sell, but more importantly, it's the way you watch and measure. You can create more results out of sales by making a series of tiny adjustments. Now, what's great about sales is that every part of sales is manipulatable, but there's only a handful of things to focus on in sales, which means that if you change any of the 3 primary parts in sales, you can create an impact, a change in your sales, and increase it. And if you create a change, we'll go through those 3 things here today, of course. You create an impact or a change in each of the 3 parts that make up sales. Your increase, in other words, your increase in sales and volume, starts to escalate, and in some instances escalates greatly, exorbitantly. The third tool that we have to have is marketing. It becomes a must. Now, sales is a product of what we do today. What do I do today and tomorrow, and how am I going to put more money? Remember cash flow, number 1? How does sales put more money in my pocket today or tomorrow, in the next 30 days? Marketing is an interesting one because a lot of people struggle with marketing early on, and even a lot of successful businesses really don't market all that effectively or all that regularly. Yet marketing is what you call a strategic activity in business, whereas sales is an operational or tactical activity in business. Sales is something I do today to get paid today. Market is something that I do today. Now, some could say it's an act of faith, like religion. Please let my marketing work. But marketing, when done even effectively, never mind done right, starts to pay dividends in 30, 60, 90, 180, 365 days. So when we look at what it takes to increase our cash by selling today, marketing long-term first starts to help build up the bridge to sales. Secondly, starts to support sales and inflate business. And third, given time, effective marketing for businesses can overtake your sales, meaning that it can be directly attributed to how much did I spend compared to how much I made. So for businesses to make a massive shift, we do have to address a few key details in marketing. And we're going to discuss those very shortly. I'm going to imagine that most of the people that have come on this call today, probably small to medium business, maybe they just work for themselves, maybe they have a handful of employees. Now know that each of these first 3 and the last 2 I'm going to talk about are things that the big businesses do. They just do it with a lot more stuff maybe, or a lot more money. But these are the ones that led from little business, 1 person, little business, 2 people, little business, 3 people, to medium-sized business, 20, 30, 50, 100 people, to big business, capital cost businesses, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of employees. So that was cash flow was number 1. Sales was number 2. Marketing was number 3. Hide my face there. I'll move that for a moment. Your operations, interesting one. Operations, or the strategy for your business. Now, operations and strategy are 2 different parts of your business, but the ops side means having a really clear understanding of what people are going to do in your business or what functions your business has to do. Now, project management and operations planning is incredibly complex, and there is not enough time in the next hour, 45 minutes to cover that for you. But what I can give you is a really simple way, once more, with this and this, to understand what's happening in your operations right now, because the moment you can look at it, you can start to make a change. And when you can see that people are getting overwhelmed, or that the tools or software, things that you do, the tasks you do every day really aren't doing them to the best of their ability, aren't being used fully, or more importantly, aren't really fit for what you're trying to do with them. How it starts to create blocks, stops inside of your operations. And because of that, your business gets less efficient. It costs more to operate. And because of that, your business keeps less what? Cash in your pocket. The last one is the people, the parts of your business, including you, that make up how your business is going to work. But Mitch, I'm a real estate agent, a financial planner, whatever it is. I'm never going to have people. That's crap. That is absolute crap. At some point, there's going to be more than what it takes for you to be able to do something. And even if you hire a contractor or get a bookkeeper or get somebody to answer the phones, those things mean that when you address what the people do and how they do it, in other words, can you see how the people side and the operations side can marry together really quickly? When we understand the things that we got to do and where they're not working so well, we could start to understand the people we got to bring in. So when we bring people into our business, we have to have a clear set of guidelines on how to do that and how we're going to make them fit the stuff in the operations we need them to do. If we do, their ability to do it better, faster, stronger starts to increase and starts to grow our business. So I've talked for about 14 minutes right now, and I've given you 5 things, and I haven't given you anything actionable working yet. Okay, Mitch, clock's ticking. An hour and 40 minutes, and you're telling us that we're going to get a hell of a lot smarter at business in that next little bit of time. Absolutely, because each one of these has just a small number of actions or items. So once more, when we've got this and we got this, so you've written down cash flow, sales, marketing, operations, and people or hiring, right? Well, you've got those there. Now, what I want you to do is just one page at a time. So, and I got a little tiny book here. Some people have bigger ones. Some people have bigger notebooks. Some people have notepads. They got all sorts of stuff kicking around, right? So I want you to take just an individual page, and I want you to write cash flow or money at the top of the page, because we're going to discuss that one first. Because cash flow, of course, is the essential, the lifeblood of your business. It is the thing that you must have to continue to not only survive, but thrive and grow. We can all agree, just as I said at the beginning, having more money in your jeans makes you feel better, but it also helps you make different and better decisions for your business moving forward. So cash flow, here's our example why cash flow, little business to big business, not just the amount of money in your pocket or how quickly you can look at it here. Company I like to cite all the time for this. In 2014, Apple, Apple, the iPhone manufacturer, MacBooks, all that other good stuff, they had enough cash on hand to buy their next 6 competitors, including Samsung, for cash. They could go to the bank, take it all out in nickels, drive over to wherever, and yes, I know every other company is publicly traded, so you'd have to drive to a trading house, I guess. But they could take it all out in nickels or dollars or $100 bills or whatever it is, drive over to someplace, pour some of it out the back and say, "We own everything you have. Get out. We're done with you." They could do that another 5 times. They went about the action of preserving cash to give their business, first of all, better financial health, but more importantly, better ability to make decisions and even take some risks. So when we look at cash flow, the very first thing, we need a couple of details to make better sense of it. So this is what you need to write down right now. First of all, how much cash do I have right now? When I say for cash flow, and this is something that you want to look at and you want to be able to measure, touch, and of course, look tomorrow and the week after and the week after, and in 3 months, see a difference, whether positive or negative. If it's negative, you actually be able to start to make some decisions that will improve it. And if it's positive, you can accelerate it. So when we're talking about cash flow, the first one here, the very first detail we need is how much cash do I have? And to do that, maybe very likely you're going to go to here. So when you write down cash flow and how much cash I've got or how much cash on hand or how much money do I have to spend right now, right at this current time, here's your first question about cash on hand. Can you access and look at the information for your business, financial, cash flow related, in other words, your bank account balance, in the next 30 seconds? If you can't, then the speed at which you can make a decision for your business is being hampered. So the first detail you need for cash flow is how much money do I have right now? How much do I have? How much is it in a pile? How much could I scrape it all together? Maybe just cover 2 or 3 places. I got a savings account and I've got a regular business checking account. And well, I've got a line of credit, I guess. I could use some of that. And I got a business credit card. Does that count too? Sure. Make sure that at any given time, so let's say every week, and by let's say every week, I mean every single week on Monday morning perhaps, first thing you're going to do is sit down and say, okay, where am I at this week? How am I starting the week? So how much cash do I have? First detail you want to write down. Second detail you want to write down. So first one, how much cash do I have right now? Second detail, how much do I think I'm going to make this week? That tends to be a tricky one. Some businesses have reoccurring clients and maybe they've got contracts and you get paid regularly, etc. Some places, restaurants, which we can all agree are struggling a little bit right now, depending on where you are. And of course, certain places like brick and mortar stores, etc., could have a really tough time figuring that out. But by and large, when you consider what's going on inside of a business, every business owner always goes, I got kind of a sense this is going to be a good week, or nah, it's always terrible around here. In fact, if anybody on here is working in the trades or has worked in the trades at all, or perhaps in real estate as an example, and you know somebody who's a plumber, HVAC, electrician, carpenter, whatever it is, and you get to about the second week of December, and usually till about the last week of January, it's just a ghost town. There's not a lot going on, right? Unless you're in HVAC and a furnace fails because it gets cold, chances are you're not getting a lot of calls. Chances are you're not building a lot of cabinets. Chances are you're not laying a lot of carpet. Chances are you're not building a lot of fences or decks. So we have a pretty good idea, if we've been in our business, what an expectation is. So when I start every week, and in my case, for my business, I start every week with how much money do I have right now? What amount of money does the device right over here say to me at the moment I'm looking at it that I've got to work with? Next, based on what I think is going to happen this week, how much do I think I'm going to bring in? So in this example, as you're writing it down, how much do I have on hand? Let's say it's $1,000. So I want you to write down $1,000 right now. Next, how much do I think I'm going to bring in this week? Well, I think that's going to be $1,000. I think I'm going to make $1,000 this week. Go ahead, give yourself permission to write it down. So you got $1,000 to start the week, and you got $1,000 you think you're going to bring in. First two details you need to know: what you got and what you think you're going to make. Third detail you want to consider, and it's one of the most important ones, is when do I have to pay people, including me? So if my business is just a product of me, myself, and I, in other words, I just work for me and I only pay me and that's it, then when do I expect to get money on a regular basis? And how much is that I'm going to need to get paid? And is it this week? If it is, then do I have enough money already to make sure that I'm getting paid? Or let's say I've got employees that they're going to get paid? Or do I have to go find more? Do I have to save some from another place? Do I have to plan for it coming forward? So how much money I've got and how much I think I'm going to make. The first detail that comes after the amount of money we have to spend is when it starts to go. And the first place we always want to look at is our people. If we track regularly, now if you've got employees, chances are you've got them on some form of payroll cycle. Get paid every 2 weeks, they get paid the middle of the month, the end of the month, they get paid one time a month, whatever it is. Or maybe you got commissioned salespeople and they get paid when they sell something. So for us to look at that, then it's us to be reasonable and expective of how much money do I have to set aside, find, or how much has to be put towards people. Now, if this week I don't have to pay people, that's okay. But when do I have to pay people then? How much is it going to be? And is this week going to start off and work out well enough to get me towards there? Or do I have to start preserving some cash in that how much I've got next week to pay for people? The fourth thing we have to look at, remember I said it's about outlay. So the first two are what I got on hand, what I think I'm going to make. Third one is where the money's going to start to go. That second part is what do I have to spend in the form of expenses? Now, businesses have a certain level of fluid, right? Or non-fixed expenses means you got to go buy a drill because your old one broke. You got to go pay for new shoes because your shoes fell apart. You got to pay an unexpected bill that cropped up out of somewhere. You got to go buy something for something reason. Those things you can't really predict for. But for the bulk of our businesses, and if we are, once again, doesn't matter if it's big or it's little, an awful lot of what we attribute to expenses, which your accountant or bookkeeper can talk to you about your stuff if you really don't know what they are. A significant portion of these, depending on the business, somewhere between 40 and 60% can be as high as 70 or 80% of everything your business spends. In other words, it's total expenses. If your accountant or bookkeeper said, yeah, in your expenses, 60, 65, 70% of your expenses are things that occur on a regular basis. If you're working from home, your mortgage payment or your rent payment is not a mystery to you. You know when that's going to show up. You likely know and have a pretty good idea what your utilities are going to be like. You know if and when you got a car payment. You know when you're going to be paying your insurance. You know when you're going to be paying for your internet bill. And if you're like a lot of us, well, you're on the internet right now, right? So you got to pay that bill to keep that going. You know when your cell phone bill is going to show up, your phone bill, et cetera. You know when your subscriptions and payments, maybe you're on LinkedIn because you're building relationships, et cetera. So all these different things start to add up. So when we talk about expenses, we want to have a good sense this week what we're going to be paying that isn't people, right? How much cash I've got, how much I think I'm going to make, when and if I got to pay people and how much, and then what are my expenses this week? So every week I want to start the week and have a really good look and say, how much money do I have? How much do I think I'm going to make, or how much do I have to make for sure to make sure I can cover these next two? If and when do I pay people? How much do I pay them? And what kind of expenses or costs is my business going to incur this week? If you look on a week-to-week basis at where your money is going to go to start with, you start creating a mindfulness exercise. More importantly, you start creating a business behavior that has you always addressing cash on hand. What you have to make, does that sound like that could drive sales? As an example, have an impact on how much you actually sell this week. If you realize that the amount you had, what you're going to make this week based on what you thought was going to happen to start with, is not going to be enough to pay your people or cover your expenses. And next, we talk about this covering the expenses. Let's go back to things like trade companies for a moment. Blue collar cats, people that have to work for a living. In many respects, every dollar they earn or they go out and make in the form of doing something, electricians, plumbers, etc., has a direct cost called cost of goods, which means that I have to buy something for me to be able to do work. Now, if you try to buy lumber recently, you know that cost is skyrocketed, right? So, I got 2x4s to sell, and that's part of my shift in my business. I got 2x4s to sell. They're a little used. They came out of my deck, but you know what? I'm going to give them to you at a really great price. Come on down. We're going to talk about this. So, a little bit of humor for a moment. But for us, when we look at doing things like that, we incur what's called a cost of goods. A cost of goods is just the same as an expense. Cost of goods means that I've got to buy something to be able to sell something. Expenses are, I turn the lights on, I open the doors, my business runs throughout the day. Again, big or little, all businesses incur some kind of expense. So every week, what do I have to pay for expenses? But if my business has to sell something, even if it's pens, if I sell pens for a living, if I build decks for a living, etc., I have to buy a pen or buy lumber for a deck before I can sell it. That is a cost associated with this. So if I start a week with $1,000 in a hypothetical scenario, and I think I'm going to make $1,000 this week and I got to sell pens, well, how many pens do I have to sell to make $1,000? And how much does it cost to buy those pens? So if I think I got to sell $1,000 this week to be able to pay my people and pay my expenses, because the amount of money I got in the bank, $1,000 and $1,000 in sales, is going to be enough to cover paying people and paying my other expenses, I got to pay for those pens to be able to sell them too. That now becomes a cost that we can actually calculate ahead of time. So I'm going to give you an example right now to walk you through. This pen, I like this pen. It's one of my favorite pens. I got this one, and I got this one sitting right here on my desk. So I got two varieties of pens to sell for a living, but we're just going to focus this week. We're going to have a really good deal this week on selling pens. This is your pen selling company, okay? Each one of these pens, okay, so on your piece of paper, we're going to write cash on hand, $1,000. Let's start you and go down this scenario. Cash on hand, $1,000. And then the next line down, cash I need to make $1,000, right? I think I'm going to make $1,000 this week selling pens. Cash I need to make $1,000. So cash on hand, $1,000. Cash I need to make $1,000. So this week I should have $2,000 to work with. Make sense? Give yourself a second. Make sure it lines up for you. So I got 1,000. I think I'm going to make 1,000. I got to sell 1,000. So I got $2,000 to work with. and I have $500 in expenses. I'm setting aside the people side for what I got $500 in expenses this week. I got to make a $400 mortgage payment. I got to pay $50 in utilities, and I got to pay $50 for internet. Okay. I know this sounds really affordable. We all like a $400 mortgage payment, $50 for utilities, and $50 for internet. I don't know where to get that for you. Okay. I'm smart, but I don't have a clue where to get that for you. So I can't help you on that one. But so in this hypothetical example, we're going to have a pen company. We've got $1,000 in the bank. We need to make $1,000 this week. And we have $500 in expenses because we got a mortgage payment for $400. We got utility payments for $50, sorry. And we've got internet payments for $50. So we got $500 in expenses. And then now, we also know that we have to pay ourselves. We're the only person selling pens for a living. We don't sell pens. We ain't making our mortgage payment. And I've just said I got to make $1,000 this week because I cover my butt, right? So, damn it. How much am I going to pay myself this week? You know what? Well, actually, I already know that even though my business runs my house selling pens, I got a $400 mortgage payment, $50 for utilities, and $50 for my internet. And yeah, I know I've accounted for that in the business, but you know what? I got to make at least that $500. But I need $500 because I still got to buy clothes, still got to buy food, still got to take care of my family, and we're all sitting at home in the midst of COVID, of course, and eating quite a bit. So you skip the dishes is not cheap. You got to pay that little extra premium, and you got to tip all the time. Make sure tip your driver, right? So I'm going to need $500. So in my example now, I've got $1,000 that I start the week with. I'm gunning for $1,000 in sales this week, so that should give me $2,000 to work with. I got $500 in expenses, and I got $500 I got to pay me. So right now, what I'm saying is that I'm starting the week with 1,000. I got to make 1,000 come hell or high water, no matter what. I got to pay 500 in expenses and 500 for a person. So right now, at the end of the week, if I find that 1,000, I start with 1,000. I should have $1,000 left over. I had 1,000. I got to make 1,000 selling pens. I need 500 for expenses and 500 for people. So $1,000 in total expenses so far. I should have $1,000 left over. But to sell pens for a living, you make that $1,000. I'm only selling these pens $1 a piece. They're $1 a piece. So now I know I got to sell 1,000 pens. So to sell those 1,000 pens, I got to get 1,000. I got to do 1,000 transactions with $1,001 pens to make the $1,000 in extra sales I need this week. So at the bottom, I need to write cost or cost of goods. In other words, I had to pay for these things to be able to sell and make more for my business. So to do that, every pen costs me 10 cents. So I have to buy 1,000 pens at 10 cents a piece. So if you don't want to do the math really quick, it's quite simple. Can the engineer do the math for me? Mike, nothing? Got nothing for me? Okay. At 10% of $1,000 is $100. Okay. So the cost of our pens is $100. So this week, then, if I sell 1,000 pens, I'm going to have $500 in expenses. I'm actually writing this down right now. I'm going to have $500 to pay my people, being me, right? Because I got to make some money too. And if I have to sell 1,000 pens at 10 cents, it's going to cost me $100 in pens. So to start the week, I had $1,000. My goal this week is to make $1,000 in pen sales, giving me $2,000 to work with. And if I sell those 1,000 pens, those 1,000 pens are going to cost $100. And I've spent $500 in expenses, $500 for people. So my business should cost $1,100 for this week. And I should have $2,000 to work with. So $2,000, had 1,000, made 1,000 selling pens, spent $100 on pens, spent $500 to pay me, and spent $500 for my mortgage payment, utilities, and internet bill. And that gives me $900 at the end of the week. So if I start Monday morning and go, hey, I got $1,000, I got to find $1,000. That's my mandate. That's what I got to do. Remember I said that all these things would start to tie together, but how cash is going to affect sales. Well, I just said to myself, I got to sell $1,000 in pens. If I don't sell $1,000 in pens, I'm not paying myself. Okay. And this week, I know I got to pay $500 for my mortgage payment and my utilities and my internet. I got to pay myself $500 because I need money as well. And it's going to cost me $100 to buy these pens so that I can make this money. the end of the week, I got $900. So I start Monday, got 1,000, need to find 1,000. So what is that doing? It's already giving us a sales goal, right? Now we got a sales goal. We have something to work towards. Whether it's just us, whether we got employees, whether we got hundreds of employees, we have to set a sales goal every single week. You got to find this. You got to sell 1,000 pens. Don't sell 1,000 pens. We're not paying the bills. And this week we got a bill. We got to pay some people. And of course, we got to buy our pens. Cost of goods or cost of pens. The end of the week, we got $900. So when it comes to Friday afternoon, we're wrapping it up for the end of the week. We managed to get through the week, and we had 1,000 pens sold, and we had $1,000 to start the week, and we stuck to only $500 in bills, and we paid ourselves $500. It cost $100 for those pens. Do we have $900 left over? If we do, job well done. If we don't, we miss something. And it's those things that starts to create the variance, that 1 or 2% difference between success and failure. So when we don't end the week with $900, that's a cause for concern. Where did we spend something that we didn't expect to? Did that start to show up in the form of variable expenses? Did we spend more on pens than we thought we were going to? Was it $400 for that mortgage payment, or was it $420? Was it $50 for our utilities? Was it $55? Was it $50 for internet, or was it $60? Now we have to start to make adjustments when we're predicting and measuring this stuff so that we can do what? Make a better decision next week, make a better decision next month, track better. Secondly, now here's our last activity when we finish the week off. So at the start of the week, we look, we see how much money we've got. We figure out how much we think we're going to make or how much we know we got to make. So that's setting a sales goal where we're going to spend money, expenses, when we got to pay people, how much it's going to be and when we're going to pay them. And then any costs associated with what we're going to do to sell to make that business. I ended the week with $900. So check, I clearly made more than enough. But now here's our final litmus test. Was the $900 the same, higher, or lower than what we started the week with? If it's the same, is that a product of where we're sitting right now? In other words, our business is in a little bit of a lull. Every business has got a busy period and a quieter period, and some places where we just kind of hold the line, right? So did we hold the line this week? Were we up even a little bit, or were we down? If we were down, then this tells us what? Business is starting to decline. Even right now, it's starting to decline. It's fine. It's only 1 week. Okay. Well, next week you start with $900, not $1,000 like you started this week. And then if we do the same exercise, we start with $900. We say we got to sell 1,000 pens, but I don't have to pay myself next week. I pay myself in 2 weeks' time. Okay, cool. That's no problem. And I don't have $500 in expenses. I only got $300 of expenses. Okay, that's kind of predictive. I can look a week ahead and figure out what I got to do. And if I sell 1,000 pens, it's only going to cost me $100. So I don't have to pay myself. So I'm about $300 in expenses next week and $100 for pens. Okay. So now I can start the week with an expectation and what? A sales goal. That sales goal, is it going to get me further up, hold the line, or is it going to continue to decline? At the end of that week in this one here, then if we started with 900, found 1,000, spend 400, what does that mean we're going to have? Do we have 1,500 at the end of the week? Because we only had $100 in pen expenses, $300 in other expenses. So when we're doing these things, we want to be very conscientious about the impact that the money's going to have today and this week. Cash flow, after all, is a right now exercise. There is no other purpose for it. It is a right now. What are you doing for me right now? What do I have to work on? And more importantly, how do I drive or really steer what's going to happen in the form of my sales? And then, of course, what's going to happen with it next week? So your first takeaway from all of these tools, and it's one of the most essential, because cash flow is the vital part of your business. This is both the unsexy and the fun part of business, because the more money we've got, the more decisions we can make, the more things we can spend on. Remember those expenses we just talked about, a $400 mortgage payment, $50 in utilities, $50 in internet. But what if one of those expenses is marketing, you're spending on advertising? What if one of those people expenses isn't just you? It's a salesperson. It's somebody in production. You make something. Your business makes something to sell to other people. Now you got somebody that builds that in the back end. So the cost of people and the cost of our expenses or the cost of our goods, in other words, what it takes to buy what we need to use to make what we sell, starts to increase, which means that cash is always a right now decision. How much do I have now? How much do I have to find? What's it going to cost for everything to keep moving? And am I the same, up, or down? If I'm down, why am I down? And am I going to be able to get it to turn back up again? Am I about the same? Has this been happening for a while, always the same all the time? Or is it an increase? Was the increase because we just had a really good week? Or is it an increase because we're starting to get busier? So for us, cash flow is always the first stop we have in being able to shift our business, because the amount of money we've got and what we have to take, have to make, have to use, gives us the chance to either only just survive, in other words, holding the line, actually declining a bit, which means the business is starting to slide, or accelerate. So cash gives us the impetus to do what? Start to predict what we need to do for sales. So now we're going to shift from cash flow to sales. Where I said, well, these are the 5 things. Well, guess what? They're all tied together, because the amount of money I've got and how much I need to make tells me what I have to do in sales. Now, if you remember from when we started off, I said cash flow, sales, marketing, operations, and of course, people, the people that were in there. Did you hear some little elements when I just talked about cash flow that touched on these other 4 areas? So cash sets the tone for sales. Now, where I said sales is a product of, well, how well you do something and what you do, or the way you talk to people and how many people you're going to talk to them. And if you're going to sell 1,000 pens, where do you got to go to sell 1,000 pens? How do you talk to 1,000 people? Do you sell 1,000 pens to one person? How's that going to work? Well, that predictiveness, thanks to cash flow telling us what we got to make, starts to give our targeting for sales. Now, in sales, when we look at being able to look at cash flow and manipulate it, in other words, how much cash do I have? I can't change that. It's the amount of money I got in the bank right now. How much do I have to make to get by, cover myself, or to get my business to grow? That becomes the manipulation. Next, in cash flow, and like I said, we're switching to sales here in a second. Cash flow are expenses. If our expenses continue or consistently to be high and help depreciate our cash reserves, in other words, the amount of money we have at the end of the week, what does it tell us about our expenses? So is there anything that we can do to change that? Can we negotiate our mortgages? Can we change utility providers? Can we get a different internet service? Change where our cell phone is? Start to hunt for a better rate on insurance? We all get what this is. Well, guess what? Some of the largest companies on the planet negotiate incredibly fiercely on these kinds of expenses, because you know every dollar you save out of each one of these starts to create an impact. So now I want you to stay with the example of our pen company for a moment, where we needed to sell 1,000 pens, okay? Set aside the fact that they cost 10 cents a pop for a moment. So I want you to write down, take this pen again. So now we're talking about sales, because I'm going to show you the only 3 parts in your sales that you are ever going to need. And in fact, these are the ones that are going to create a much different impact for your business. So bear in mind, for the rest of today, we need our hypothetical pen selling company where we're going to sell 1,000 pens a week to make $1,000, okay? So right now we're going to write sales. Take another page entirely, and I want you to write sales, okay? I'm writing it down too. And sales, we're going to sell pens. And pens, okay, pens cost $1. In other words, we sell them for $1, okay? So every pen costs $1. You want to buy a pen? It's $1. You want to buy a pen? It's $1. Now there's 20 people or 15 people, whoever's on this call. I can see across my screen now, I see Fong and Dave and Michael and Matt and Paul and Serena. So Fong, you need to buy a pen for $1. Dave, you need to buy a pen for $1. Mike, you need to buy a pen for $1. Matt, you need to buy a pen for $1. Paul, you need to buy a pen for $1. Is that really effective? Not really, but hey, guess what? I got pens for $1. I want to sell everybody I can see $1. Sorry, Serena, didn't mean to miss you. You and Paul, you guys need to buy a pen for $1, right? There we go. Woo! I'm pointing off in this corner because Serena and Paul over there. So I got pens to sell for $1. I got to sell 1,000 of them this week. So it cost $1. Transactions, number of people I have to sell to. I have to sell to 1,000 people at $1 a piece to make $1,000. Makes sense, right? Now, after somebody buys a pen, how many times are they going to come back and buy? Maybe very seldom. So if I sell everybody here a pen for $1,000 this week, probably not coming back next week. So right now I've got cost. Pens cost $1. Sorry, I have to sell to 1,000 people. And right now, but the next line below, I'm going to be really mean. I'm going to say 0 people are going to buy again. There's no rebuy. People ain't coming back. They're going to buy one pen because I got really good pens. I mean, if you could get up close to this thing, it's heavy duty, it's stainless steel, it's engraved. Heck, for the $1, I'm even going to throw in like 30 more ink cartridges. Black and blue, baby. Doesn't matter who you are. Engineer, accountant, doesn't matter. I got the color for you. So you're going to get this pen. It's stainless steel. It's virtually indestructible. It's nice and heavy. Writes really smooth. And I'm going to throw in 30 more of these things with you as well. My deal for you, just for $1, right? You're not coming back. You ain't buying another pen next week. So 0 people are going to buy again. Okay. That means that every single week to make $1,000, talking about sales and being able to create an impact, every week I have to sell 1,000 pens at $1 to make $1,000. Okay. So I've got how much I make per transaction or the cost, $1. Number of people I sell to, second detail in sales, right? 1,000 people. And the third one, the amount of times people rebuy. So anybody wants to break out their phone for their calculator, whatever it is, you scratch on the side. Here's the 3 things you ever need in sales. Mitch, give me a good script. Screw that. Google it. These are the 3 things you need to make an impact in cash flow. Because the impact in cash flow comes from sales. And these differences in sales starts to increase your cash flow. So we got cost is $1. Okay. So if we sell to 1,000 people, nobody else buys. But instead this week, because I've decided I'm going to throw these in, setting aside the cost of these for a moment, I decide that I'm going to sell you a pen and 30 of these inserts for $1.10. It's going to cost you $1.10 to buy this. So now next to the $1 in cost, I want you to write $1.10. You're still only going to sell to 1,000 people and nobody's going to buy again. How much money did we make this week? We sell for $1.10 instead of $1. How much did we make? $1,100. So this week when I sell 1,000 pens, instead of $1, because I added something to it, of course, and we'll get to comparative cost after. But instead I sell you this pen, instead of for $1 this week, I sell it for $1.10. Now I make $1,100. I make $1,100 instead. So the amount of money I make at the end of the week is $1,100. Weird. Remember a hypothetical example where we're actually down about $100 at the end of the week? Well, this would have us holding even, wouldn't it? Right? So sales, just by having a small increase. So bear that in mind for a moment. Sales increase of 10% gave me what? 10% more. Now, in every instance, sales increases, the cost of something, in other words, what I charge you for it, is not necessarily realistic. But if I change the value of that pen from $1 to $1.10, the same number of sales now creates $1,100, $1,100 instead. So instead of 1,000 people this week, I'm going to sell. So here's where we're going to do the second one. So I decided I only want to sell $1 pen, but I know I need to make $1,100 instead. So what did that tell me? I've got to sell 1,100 pens at $1 a piece to make what? $1,100. So at the end of the week, my cash flow is different. So right now in our example, we got cost $1, 1,000 people, 0 people buy. So instead, we're going to go over to the next line right beside it. So think of it like columns. I got $1, I got 1,000 people, and then underneath it, 0 people buy again. I'm going to move over and I'm going to go, people are going to buy for $1.10, 1,000 people, 0 people rebuy, and underneath what do I have? $1,100 for my sales. I'm going to move over another column instead. I'm going to leave $1 there this time. Pens are only selling for $1. Next line down, I'm going to sell to 1,100 people, 1,100 people. 0 people are going to rebuy. What do I have? $1,100. Now I'm going to go over one more line. Now I'm going to sell to 1,100 people. I'm going to sell those pens at $1.10. And still, only one person's going to buy. Nobody's going to buy again from me. How much money do I have at the end of the week? $1,210. So I changed the price of the pen by 10%. I increased the number of people I sold to by 10%. So I decided that instead of 1,000 pens, I want to sell 1,100 pens this week. And look what it did to how much I made. It increased it by 21%. So I want you to go over one more column, and I want to put you $1.10 for the price of a pen. This week, I'm going to sell to 1,100 people, 1,100 people. and underneath it, you know, because people like the pens that I sell. They're big and they're heavy duty. They're only $1.10. They include extra ink. We want people, some people, to take more than one, to give it away, to keep it as a spare, because we know people lose pens. So we're gunning for the fact that we're going to sell a little more, or some people that have lost pens are going to come back. And this time when we start talking to people, we're going to ask them to let people know, take one as a gift, or if you lose one, don't hesitate to come back, because I've always got these really cool pens with the 30 inserts. And they're only $1.10 instead. So I'm going to sell them for $1.10. I'm going to sell to 1,100 people. And this time, I'm going to be gunning for 10% more people to come back. So how many people is that going to be? 110 more people are going to rebuy or take an extra. So I'm going to put $1.10, 1,100 people, and underneath, I'm going to put 110. At the bottom of my page, right there, I got $1.10, I got 1,100 people, and I got 110 more. So take 1,100 people, add 110. What's that going to come up to? 1,210 people, 1,210 people, multiplied by $1.10. Tell me how much money it comes out to. I'll tell you already, because, well, I'm the guy that wrote the script for what we're talking about today, right? $1,320. I increased my price 10%. I decided I was going to sell to 10% more people. Just a 10% increase in the amount of sales I was going to make. And when I did that, I started to ask, offer, or make sure people knew that they could come back and buy an extra pen, take one as a gift. Maybe they'll lose one at some point. Or if you know somebody that wants to buy a pen, come back and get it back. So me doing about 10% more work with a slight increase in price created a 32% increase in the amount of money I made that week. So if I take my $1,000 that I started at the beginning of the week, time to go with cash flow for a moment, and instead of $1,000, I decided for a sales goal, I wanted to sell to 1,100 people instead of making $1,000. And I knew that I was going to make a slight increase in price, and I was going to start to ask, offer, or give people the opportunity to come back. In other words, hey, if you like these pens, take more than one, because chances are you're going to need it. You might lose it. There's somebody you could give it to if you've liked this pen so well. Or when you lose it, don't hesitate to come back. I will always have more pens to sell. I was able to create a 32% increase by only talking to 10% more people. So if I start my week at $1,000 and instead I say that, hey, self, I want to sell 1,100 pens this week, and I got to make sure to talk to everybody and let them know it's time to come back. Remember I said we want to create just 3 changes inside of sales? So for sales, the amount of money we charge on a transaction is fluid. In other words, what we cost something at really is fluid. It's based on value, what people perceive to be the amount of money they're willing to pay for something. Secondly, by making a small impact, most of us could probably talk to 10% more people if we really thought about it. If you talk to 5 people this week, make it 6. If you talk to 10 people, you're talking about 11. If you're talking to 30 people, you're talking about 33 people to get a shot at increasing your sales by 10%. Each one of those people that we're going to talk to, so in this case, in our hypothetical example, our pen company, we want to make 1,000 and, I'm going to do it the wrong way around, 1,100 or 1,100 sales. By doing that, I set a mandate, a measurable for sales that's going to have an impact on my cash flow. But when I measure my cash flow at the end of the week, something extraordinary happens. I start with $1,000, but now I made $1,320. So where I had $500 in expenses, $500 to pay people, and in this case, because it was 10 cents a pen, but I had to sell 1,100 pens, my pens cost me $110. So that made my expenses for the week $1,110. But for the week, I had what? $2,320 to work with. So I ended the week with almost a $200 increase from the previous week or from the start of my week by selling to 10% more people. When we look at creating impact inside of sales, These three figures. Now, this is the secret sauce for sales. This is the stuff that you need to consider. How much do you charge for what you sell right now? How many people do you sell to regularly? And out of all those people you sell to regularly, how many refer? How many come back? Or what is secondary, rebuy, or extra sales parts that can go with it? It is not a coincidence that in every gas station, grocery store, and other retailer on the planet, that there are always little tiny things sitting right by the till. It's not a mystery at all. There's a really good reason for that. This stuff is there because people know that other people will impulse buy. There's a reason when you go into a grocery store that all of the best name stuff, all of the marquee things, or all of the biggest name brand things are in a corridor that runs between about knee height and about shoulder height. So it's easiest for you to reach, grab, pick up, and take with you. So, and also the most profitable things for the retailer are in this corridor where it's very easy for you to grab something, pick it up, and put it in your cart. So when we look at this, that is them in a retail brick and mortar environment already looking to increase their transaction value, the amount of money that you make every time somebody buys something. Next, retailers, and we're all irritated by this as well, don't hesitate when the receipt comes up, take their finger or their pen, circle at the bottom and say, hey, fill out a survey, you could win another gift card. You could win a $500 gift card. You could win a this, you could win a that, you get this sort of stuff. Why do they do that? Because a certain percentage of people are going to fill it out. And somebody's got to win. When they do, where do they spend that? They come right back to the same retailer. So what are they doing? They're inducing and they're enticing resale. When you go to a big grocery retailer and every time you get the receipt, it spits out a gas coupon, what do you think they're doing? They're getting you to consider coming back to buy something else, to take another service. So every business has got an element of what goes to the till. So when people walk up, what's the impulse buy? What's the extra thing people can take away? Mitch, I don't have anything in my business. That's crap. That's absolute crap. Absolutely nonsense. Financial planner, life insurance. You only sell one life insurance policy. That's absolutely true. You can. What about death and disability? What about critical illness? What are RSPs? What about hospital protection? What about health plans? What about regular contributions to RSPs? What about shifts in people's investment plans so they start to make more money? Changes so that, what does it do? It increases the amount of assets under management for you, which means you get what? You make more money in trailers given long term. So even somebody like a financial planner, as an example, can always find a way to take, if I sell one life insurance plan to this person and they go away and I never talk to them, I got one transaction one time. I sold one pen at $1. That's it. But the moment I change that pen from $1 to $1.10, Mitch, you can't just change the price on a life insurance plan. No, you can't. But you can talk about different things that increases that transaction value. You can talk about different things that bring people back. You can talk about referrals. You can talk about reviews on a regular basis, testimonials, etc. Starts to change the amount they spend now, how many potential transactions you have, and then, of course, how many people are going to come back or how much extra is going to get bought. So in our hypothetical pen company, by changing the price by 10%, we increase our actual money in our jeans by 10%. By setting a sales goal of selling 10% more, in other words, instead of selling to 1,000 people this week, I want to sell to 1,100 people. I created an increase that was 21%. And then by saying, you know what, I want to sell to those people, ask them to come back, or when they lose a pen, or say something really nice about us, maybe they can create another 10% to come and buy from us. So by doing that, we find another 110 transactions worth of sales at $1.10 a piece. So that small impact and change in sales, changing our price where reasonable, increasing the number of transactions we've got, and finding a way to upsell, get referrals, rebuys, or have customers that will return for multiple transactions can increase that. Now, as a last exercise, and we're at 2 o'clock here, and we still got 3 more subjects to cover. But I'm going to give you the last part of this exercise because it's desperately important, because it helps to actually paint the picture for marketing, operations, and the people that come into your business. Why? We can all agree hiring salespeople is pretty good for business, right? Yeah. We can all understand that if we're more efficient at business, we can do more transactions. Yeah. Okay. And we understand that if our marketing can help bring more customers that we didn't have to sell to this week, what are we going to do? We're going to make more money for each one of those transactions that happens. So here's your last exercise right now inside of sales, because this is going to help to color all of the rest of it too. Take your hypothetical pen company, and where before we had $1 we were selling for, and we're going to sell to 1,000 people, and nobody was going to come back and buy again. This time I want you to take that dollar, and I want you to increase it by 10% like before. So we're going to sell pens for $1.10. That next line down, 1,000 people this week, we want to sell to 1,200 people. 1,200 people. So we're going to make a 20% increase. We're ambitious, baby. We want to sell 200 more pens than we do every other week. And this time, we're really pushing for extras, sales, referrals, reviews, testimonials, or rebuys to the tune of 20%. So what's 20% of 1,200? That's 240. Anyone want to break out the calculator? I'm going to do that anyway. I got the math here already, but I always like to do this just to say that it's okay to break out a calculator. I got 1,200 people. I'm going to sell to another 240 people. So that gives me 1,440 people I'm going to sell to this week. And I'm going to sell at $1.10. What does that give me? This week, instead of $1,000, I started the week selling to 1,000 people. I'm going to make $1,584 this week instead of $1,000. I'm going to make a 58% increase in my sales by choosing to sell to 200 more people. In normal math, that's $200. In this math, that's $380 more than it was previous. That's a 58% increase in my sales. As a takeaway, where I say you want to take some of this away, come back to it after. Take your hypothetical pen company for a moment and adjust each of these prices by 20%. And adjust one price. So, hey, we're going to do this one right now. Your price is from a pen is going from $1 to $1.20. The number of people you're going to sell to is going to go from 1,000 to 1,250, 25% increase. And the number of people that are going to buy from you again is going to go from 0 to 30% this time. So what's 30% of 1,250 people? 125 people times 3, 375. So take your 1,250 plus 375, 1,625 transactions this week times $1.20, $1,950. 1,400 transactions, double the sales. I know, $1,950, not $2,000. Okay, you could call me on that if you want. That's a 95% increase in the amount of cash you're going to create inside your business. And that was only a 20% increase in what your price was to take out to the retail market. So sales, when we think cash flow first, what do I need? How much money do I have? How much do I have to make? Starting to give us sales metrics, right? When do I pay expenses? When do I pay people? Of course. What is it going to cost me to make those sales? How much do I have left over at the end of the week? Now that sets the tone for sales. How much money do we have to make first? So instead, we take how much money we got to make first, we change it to how many transactions we have to do. What's our average price? What are the 2 or 3 or 4 things we sell most of all? Sales. How we make sales work better for our business. So when we look at the 2 or 3 or 4 things we sell most frequently in the price that we got, can we make a change in our price first? If we talk to the same number of people and the number of people we thought we were going to do, in this case, our hypothetical pen company, for example, we want to sell 1,000 pens, okay? So instead of $1,000 this week, I want to sell 1,000 pens, because the moment I do that, take price out of the way. So I want to sell 1,000 to 1,000 people. Okay, cool. Well, actually, I don't want to sell 1,000 people. I want to sell to 1,100 people. I want to make a 10% increase. And from there, because I know I got a really valuable product, I actually think, because people talk about how good the pen is all the time, I can sell it for $1.10 instead of $1. So I'm going to sell to 1,100 people this week, 1,100 people. I'm going to sell it at $1.10. And then every time I do that, I say, listen, do you ever lose the pen? Does it ever disappear on you? Ever run out of ink? You ever give it away as a gift or whatever it is and think, damn, that was a really nice pen. I wish I had another one. Well, take another one just in case. Put it near the briefcase. Give it away as a gift, whatever it is. Or tell people about the pens that we got. Because if they come back, it's going to be beautiful. It'd be a real help. Thank you very much for that. I'm hoping to drive another 10% in sales. That's a 32% increase on what we had previously. Now, when we take the same thing and we say instead, this week I don't want to sell 1,000 pens. I want to sell 1,200 pens. And I want to make sure that at least 20 or 30 or 40% are going to come back, buy more, take more, refer people, whatever it is. And then I'll start to look at my price. We can create an impact that can create a third more, half more, double, triple, whatever it is. Now, always within the reasons, of course, what people will pay. This is where, as business owners, when it comes to our sales, we have to really address, first of all, and where do we say in cash flow? How much it costs for our business to operate, right? And how much it costs for us to sell. If it costs us 10 cents to sell a pen, it also means that we could discount that price cheaply. We make a lot less every time we sell that pen. In fact, we have to sell more pens. So right now, if we keep going, man, I don't know, people are going to buy pens for $1 when I only spend 10 cents. I'm going to charge 80 cents instead. What did we just do? Without thinking about it, because of your emotional state when it came to sales, you automatically discounted your own price, which means now you're going to make $800 and $1,000 to sell these pens. What happens the moment we do that to our bottom line in our hypothetical pen business this week? We had 1,000, we sold 1,000. We had 1,100 expenses. We had 900 left over. What happens if we only make 800? We decline by another $200. We've got $700 at the end of the week, not 1,000. That means that by discounting the price on our pens, we impacted our business negatively by 30% of our retained cash because I gave people a 20-cent discount on a pen. So when we look at how many pens we have to sell, and when we consider our cash flow every week, how much money we've got to make is only important to cover the bills, cash flow management. Once we know how much money we've got to make, how many transactions is that? I got to sell 1,000 pens because normally I charge $1. Okay. So instead now, when I go to sales, the very first thing I got to say to myself is, how many pens do I have to sell? That's how we set the table for sales. I got to sell 1,000 pens. Well, you know what? I want my business to grow this week. I'm not going to sell 1,000 pens. We want to be ambitious. So I want to sell 1,200 pens instead. 1,200 pens. We're going to go up by 20%. Let's see if we can get there. Badass. Now, are we selling them at just $1? Or do we think, because everybody keeps coming back and we know in our heart of hearts, we're going to sell 1,200 pens because these pens are badass. And they also come with extra ink and everything else that makes them really cool. So you know what? We're going to charge more. And then we're going to make sure to tell people, take another one just in case you lose it, give one away, get somebody to come back, heck. Or when you lose it, don't be afraid. I'll be right here. I'll have the same really good quality pens you're used to. Come back and buy. That's how in sales, the second part of those shift business elements, cash flow helps to set the table for what we do in sales. In sales, there's only 3 things we have to look at and measure. But more importantly, when we can measure, we can create an impact that escalates our sales. What we charge for price, how many sales we do right now, and how often people come back. The moment you create a 10% impact in any of those, what do? You create a 10% impact in the amount of money you make. But the moment you create a 10% impact in each of those, you create a 32% increase in business. And then if you go through and you go, I'm going to make a 20% impact, or I'm going to make a 20, a 25, and a 30% impact, what do? You double the amount of money you make in your business. So for us, when we look at sales, if you want cool technology, you want great scripting and great language, here's your final takeaway. Here's my bonus to you in sales when I'm telling you right now, the only thing that you need to understand in sales is how much you charge for what you got right now, and can that price change, and not for the negative. How many sales you have to do on a weekly or a monthly basis, and can you increase that by a percentage? And how many people come back and buy, refer, or in essence will take more because they buy something extra at the till, quote unquote. The last thing we really need to think about then to increase sales, how many people have had, due to this, at least one call this week where we know it's from a phone solicitor, where one of the first things going to ask us, if it's not a scam, is, hey, I just called you and I want you to buy this. I'm paraphrasing, but who's had at least one call this week where it's like, hey, I got something to sell you. You need to buy it right now. Show of hands, right? In the audience. Now, here, who with this thing? Dave shaking his head like, no, I haven't had this week. Somebody call Dave right now and try and sell him something. Okay, let's kill this one off right now. Fog, call Dave. I don't even know you guys' number. Just call. Yo, Dave, I got something for you, baby. You're like that. Matt's calling. I love it. Right? Absolutely love it. Dave's like, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb. This is not happening. Not happening. I'm going out on top for the week. Woo! No spam calls. Gonna win. Gonna win no matter what. Give me a second.
I know what you mean, though. It's just been a lucky week.
I think I've only had 3 scam calls this week. It's awesome. Love those guys too, right? Love them. But when we set that aside for a moment, so here's the final secret sauce piece for sales, but the big win. The next time you call somebody and you don't know them, the next time you message them, next time you type to them, say this. You ready? Here's your best secret in sales. I don't know you. I think we can do business together. But before we do that, is it okay if we just talk? I don't know you. I think we can do business together. But before we do that, can we just talk? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. I want to hear about you, tell you a little bit about me, talk about the stuff I've got. And if it's a fit, great. If not, we'll try again at some other time. I want you to think about that for a moment. If somebody called you, messaged you, LinkedIn pinged you, dropped something on your Facebook dashboard, messaged you directly and say, hey, I got this business. I don't know you. You don't know me. I'd like to talk to you about it a little bit. Don't even know if we can do business. Are you okay with talking for 5 minutes? What would your response be? Now, Dave's the only guy going out on a high this week by not having a sales call yet at all, right? Okay. So Dave, good for you, pal, right? That's the anomaly. Everybody else is going, shit, I probably got one right now. I don't even know if I got one right now. My phone's sitting over here and lucky it hasn't lit up. But if we have, what do you think the impact is just by you for a moment when you think about what your response would be to that instead? You're very likely to listen. So when we look at creating impact inside of our sales, the moment we change the approach we make to people, that starts to color doing what? Going from $1 to $1.10 for pens, going from 1,000 to 1,100 pens, and getting people to buy 110 more pens than before. So we make 32% more money. Now, that one I'm going, here's your last secret. This is my freebie and giveaway. Of course it's not. It's all in the script. Why? Because our next section is marketing. And marketing, I want to make it really simple for you. Who here buys the very first time they see an ad on the interwebs that says, buy me, buy me, buy me, unless you're literally Googling for that stuff right now? Nobody. We don't. We don't do it at all. So, should your marketing and advertising do that? Or does it start a conversation? Because it's not you, it's your business. And it's when you're not in the room. And so I'll give you some context for a moment for the secrets that you have to understand about your marketing so that your marketing, which is, and write this down, hold your horses. Marketing is your business talking about itself when you are not in the room. Sales, I'm right here right now having a conversation with you. Audience is here. People are going to be out on the internet later on. People are going to see this thing for, I don't know, years on YouTube. So whoever you are out there, first of all, know that I love you. And B, if you want to talk, I'm happy to hear what's going on in your business. Okay? Maybe I can help. Business coach. That's what I do for a living. But before we do that, let's get to know each other a little better. Sound fair? Now, for that to work, same conversation works inside of marketing. So what do? We buy from companies that instill a sense of trust, that educate us, but more importantly, that we see and hear other things. Does that sound familiar from sales? What was the very last of the 3 inside of sales to create an impact? Number of people that come back and buy more, number of people who refer, or the number of people that buy extra. Why do we even buy in the first place? Chances are because somebody said something pretty good about us. What is that? That's referrals. excuse me, goodness, referrals, reviews, testimonials. In other words, when people tell other people the cool stuff we've got. So in marketing, we have a couple of things that we have to do. First of all, for marketing to succeed long-term and to help bolster sales, increase sales, remember I said they're all tied together, we have to do a handful of elements. First one is always going to be advertising. Advertising is talking about the stuff we do right now that's relevant to whatever our audience or the situation in the marketplace does. Advertising where we say, I provide this. I provide business coaches. I sell pens. I do accounting. I do fences. I do financial planning. I'm a lawyer. It doesn't matter what it is. For us, for marketing to be effective, given time, there always has to be an element of this is what I do. I'll give you the context for a moment. Mitch, you just said, don't start saying, buy me, buy me, buy me. That's not what I said. I said, hey, we do this. Very, very different. Remember that little hypothetical, that free giveaway for sales to start with? Hey, I don't know you. You don't know me. I think it's about business. Can we have a talk for just 5 minutes? Tell you a little bit what I do, learn a little bit what you do. And I would say at that point, if we're good, we can talk about it. If not, we'll go away. Same thing in marketing. And marketing at the front end for advertising, it's to talk about the things we do. That serves an important purpose. That is building awareness about your business. Because after all, if people don't know who you are and what you do, they're never going to buy your stuff. They're never going to make a decision on the internet at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're all sitting in our gym shorts or pajamas, just trying to while away the time and make sure that we're able to sleep another night, da-da-da-da-da. Maybe we're worried about our cash flow because we haven't increased our sales. We didn't change our price of pens from $1 to $1.10 and made 1,100 sales this week instead of 1,000. And so we're sweating it over the money. Well, we want to be able to see from advertising inside of marketing that, hey, we sell pens. If you need a pen, we got pens for you. That's a product of who what. It's an essential part of marketing. Next, marketing needs to tell us who what's in the form of advertising, but it also needs to provide information. Did you know? So when we talk about who what's, we sell pens, we sell business coaching, we sell accounting, we sell decks, we sell auto repair, we sell financial instruments, we sell non-fiat currency, we sell real estate. Doesn't matter what it is. Advertising is to talk about the things we do. And if you need it, you can talk to us. Marketing, as part of advertising, talks about who we are, what we do, but also provides elements of did you know? Because people get curious. And when people get curious about stuff, they want to get more information, more research. So did you know is very much that this is who we are, what we do. Who we are, what we do. And then after that comes did you know? That's facts and figures. That's information driven. Did you know is a powerful statement to make. Because if I take what I'm doing, did you know that advertising and marketing takes 30, 60, 90 plus days to have an impact, whereas sales is something that you want to do sometime between now and the next 30 days. If you have to get paid today or tomorrow, you have to sell. If you want your business to build up to help sales over the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, then advertising and marketing is where you want to focus. Does that information make sense? Does that help? Well, it's at least engendered a little bit of curiosity in you. It had nothing to do with me telling you whether or not you should sign up for a free course or hire a business coach or bring in a salesperson or whatever it is. But what it did do was give you context to go, that's information. That is interesting. That's actually, maybe it's useful. It's going to help me out a little more. Even for the next 5 minutes, figure something out. That's really interesting information. I got to cart that around. Next, for our marketing, and remember, we got advertising, we got marketing. To work is a product of what do you think? Creating engagement. In other words, this is what you're going through. So for marketing and advertising to work really well, we always have to start with, and I'm walking you guys to a certain point here, and then I'll go, hey, here's the big reveal. Who you are and what you do. We sell pens, and we sell the best pens on the planet, and they come with their own ink. They're pretty badass. If you need a pen, come and buy a pen, right? Did you know that these pens, they're stainless steel, they're engraved, they're heavy duty, they write really well, really smooth, feel great in the hand. At the same time, they come with extra ink. So you're never going to run out of ink as well. You're always going to have a really good pen. You're always have extra ink, so you're going to be able to do whatever you need to do, right? What do you think? Hey, when was the last time you used a pen? When was the last time you wrote anything down? In fact, you're sitting on a seminar about making a shift in business right now, and the first thing the dude said was, you need a pen and you need one of these. Crap, I wish I had a good pen to write with. I got nothing but crap. Well, hey, You know what? A really good pen feels different in the hand. Writing comes out a lot smoother, shows up a lot better. And, you know, what do you think when I tell you that people that write in blue ink as opposed to any other color are more likely to retain information? Oh, that's really informative. That's really kind of cool. Okay, good. Thanks for telling me. Still haven't asked you to buy a pen except the very beginning. And then after that, I go, hey, if you've been using pens for a while, probably want to make an investment. So this is a do this, do that. So for marketing and advertising to work, we got to tell, you know, who you are and what you do stories. We sell pens. We got to sell stories about, did you know, facts and figures. We got to give people context to get them to engage. What do you think? And lastly, we got to give them courses of action. We got to tell them what they got to do next. So listen, if you're going to be writing an awful lot, you're going to go to seminars and you're sitting at home, probably on Zoom. In fact, if you're on a Zoom call right now, learning to shift business, you're probably going to need a pen and a book to write in. And if you're going to do that, man, we got pretty cool pens that come with extra ink, da-da-da-da-da-da. And to do that, all you do is click the button to buy the pen. By the way, the pen's $1.10. Nothing? Nothing? A couple of smiles, that's it, right? So for us, marketing is about 4 things. So cash flow, very first one, is about 5 things. We keep things simple, small bits of information. Here's where you go, light bulb moment. There's only a few things to track. Cash is how much money do I have? How much do I have to make? What do I pay in expenses? When do I pay people? How much do I have left over? Sales, how many sales do I make? How much do I charge? How many people come back? Can I change any of that? When I change any of that, I can increase the amount I make in sales. Marketing. If I'm going to market effectively, Mitch, tell me where to go and what to do. Cool, I will. Go on Instagram, shoot videos. I hate the sound of my own voice and I am terrified of video. Well, I got news for you. Get over it. Instead, what I will say about marketing, the third out of the 5 that we have to do, marketing only has 4 things to pay attention to. Now, it's almost irrelevant where you pay attention to these. Google, only on a Google My Business page or Google Ads. You still got to do these 4 things. Facebook, just talking about what's going on. Got to do these 4 things. Instagram, you like videos, short narratives, little stories, and quick pitches. 4 things. TikTok, you have got ADHD like crazy and you can't pay attention to anything less than 8 seconds, more than 8 seconds long. I got news for you. TikTok's your place. It's your jam, right? Twitter, you want to be incredibly informative and talk to people what's going on through the day. No matter what, every time we look at what builds effective marketing, which is a thing that is inside of the control of everybody who runs their own business, again, big or little, it's 4 parts. When was the last time your business talked about who you were and what you did? Who you are and what you do. If your business does that on a regular basis, consistently, talks about the products, the pens you sell, the ink that comes in, why you sell pens, where you sell pens, what kind of pens you sell, how often you need a new pen, what frequency you're going to use a pen at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, who you are and what you do. Every business that succeeds in its marketing and advertising must absolutely become aware of creating a product of who you are and what you do. If you do that, you're doing what? You're creating some information about what your business is at the very beginning. People want to understand that. Secondly, did you know these are facts and figures? Did you know that blue ink is preferable over black ink? Did you know that the kind of writing style you have and the difference between left-handed and right-handed people can mean a difference in the way the pen moves across the page? So picking a different ball width can mean a difference in whether you're pushing the pen through the page or whether you're writing across it. How do I know this? Because I'm a lefty, and what do I have? Thinner paper. I got a little excited one day, and what do I got? A hole right there in the page. I'm a lefty. I push my pens across the page instead of dragging them from left to right with my right hand. So the kind of ball that goes into the ink at the front end of my pen is really important for how smooth my handwriting is. Also depends how excited I am and the kind of paper I write on too, right? So did you know your pen can make all the difference in between whether or not you're going to retain information? Third thing that we need for everything in marketing to effectively work is, what do you think? This is where we relate it to people. by stories, anecdote, or experiences that people have when it comes to their life. And the fourth part in marketing to make effective use of marketing, in other words, to get people to eventually buy from you, is to tell them what to do with this information next. Hey, I sell pens for a living, and they're badass pens. If you pick the right ink or the right ball width on your pen, you're going to have a better writing experience. When was the last time, as a lefty, if you happen to be a lefty, for example, you're writing across a page and you end up pushing the tip of the pen right through a piece of paper? Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Well, if you don't want that experience to happen anymore writing with this, get a better tip on your pen, make sure it writes smoother, and you got the right paper to write on so the pen glides really smoothly. If you'd like that kind of experience, I got pens that write really well for left-handed people. Now, did you hear that narrative in that story? Complete bullshit, right? Literally made up while we're talking right now. But if there are a couple of left-handers on here right now, they're going, where'd Mitch get that pen? Click the button. Paul's a lefty. That's right. Paul's a lefty. He's going, Mitch, where do I buy that pen from? Right? Any lefty that watches this on YouTube is like, can you sell me a left-handed pen? I got news for you. There are no left-handed pens. But when marketing ties these four elements together, it creates an entire image, a story that businesses can hang their hat on. When we do this more effectively for our business, we start to increase the likelihood, which is really what marketing is, standing on a soapbox, yelling down the street, we sell pens, we sell pens, we sell pens. Well, people are blocked down, kind of hear something about pens. And they get a little closer and they hear that you got the right pen, it's going to make a difference. They get a little closer, they get curious. Hey, if you're a lefty and you're writing, if you ever had this experience before, you can change that by doing this. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. And they get a little closer because they're curious right now, and they hear you say, the kind of ball that goes in the tip of the pen, like the pens that I've got here right now, means that you're not likely to push your pen through the paper. You'll write a little more clearly. And if you pick blue ink, you're going to remember this crap a lot better. That's a really reasonable argument. I'm buying a pen today. I'm far too smart, but you know what? That's reasonable. Marketing, the secrets to marketing and how to create the shift in business is every time your business advertises or markets, does it do these four things? Does it tell who you are and what you do? If it does, checkbox. If not, how frequently do you tell anybody who you are and what you do? Next, did you know? Do you have facts and figures and information available and ready so that people can make informed decisions, but more than that, you're educating your audience? Third, for marketing to be effective is what do you think? Personalization. This isn't about you. I think I sell badass pens. You know what I really do? I really like writing. Love writing. And if you like writing as well, having a good pen is going to make all the difference in the world. If you're a lefty, you've had this kind of experience. If you're right-handed, you really don't know what that's like. But that's okay, because left-handed or right-handed people know what it feels like when a good pen moves across a page. And if you write for a living, there's something almost hypnotic about it. What did I just do? What do you think? I made it a personalization. And last, do this and do that. So if you're looking for this kind of experience, you need to make sure to get a really good pen. And if you want it, we've got really good pens that are going to make your writing experience far better than you've had before. So for marketing to be effective and our takeaways from today to be able to shift business effectively, we have to tell who you are and what you do elements at all times. We have to give people information in the form of, did you know? In fact, even that language works incredibly well. Did you know this fact? Did you know this figure? Did you know this piece of information? Next, what do you think? We personalize. We personalize for the audience. Not this is what I went through. I mean, we all bought razors in the 70s and 80s because Victor Kiam bought, the Braun Shaving Company, whichever razor it was, right? And lastly, do this and do that. We need to give people a course of action to do this. Now, the final takeaway and the really good secret about all of this when it comes to marketing, because I said, if your marketing is going to tell who you are and what you do, did you know, what do you think, and then give people a course of action to follow, you start to increase the likelihood that people are going to do what? Listen to your sales or make a purchase spontaneously because you're giving them the reasons and the information to make best sense for the business. But next, the secret takeaways is that if you're going, I don't have time to market, or I got a marketing company and we don't have conversations like that, or we've never really talked about this sort of stuff in that context. If you think of each one of these things as their own thought, does it sound like you can do each one of these things all by themselves? Which increases doing what? How much stuff your business does from a marketing basis. A statistically high number of businesses, and I don't even know what the stat is now, but once upon a time, last 2 years, as high as 91, 92% of businesses regularly published content on the internet less than 3 times a month. They just didn't do it. The businesses that we see most frequently and the ones we follow are a small percentage of businesses that do it regularly. Resources like Google and Facebook as examples. The back end of Facebook, if you've got a business page, you can actually follow along other businesses like yours on the back end, see how much stuff they create, and see what kind of engagement they're also creating. In other words, whatever they do during a given week, how many people interact with it, look at it, click a button, etc. So you can actually compare what your business is doing to other businesses. And time and again, through hundreds of businesses that I've worked with, every single time we start an exercise, we say, hey, let's at least understand what we're doing right now, if we're doing anything inside of our marketing, but let's look at what our competitors are doing. Every single time somebody picks a bigger competitor in their local market, the amount of stuff they do regularly on Facebook is staggeringly small. And the amount of effort, energy, and resources being put into doing something that at the beginning, except for a little bit of time, is free to create. Does that catch your interest when you think about your marketing? Before you spend a dime in marketing, if all you did was, okay, here's your secret sauce and your secret plan. So Monday morning, you're going to look at your cash flow. And when you look at your cash flow, you're going to say, I got to make X number of dollars for my sales for the week. And then after you do that, you're going to say, hey, self, instead of making $1,000 selling 1,000 pens this week, I actually want to sell 1,100 pens instead. And when I do that, starting on Monday morning, I'm going to go online and I'm going to say, hey, and I'm going to go online to Facebook and I'm going to go on my business page and I say, hey, we sell badass pens and they come with extra ink, who we are and what we do. And then Tuesday morning, I'm going to get up and say, hey, did I sell, 140 pens yesterday, 180 pens, 200 pens, because however many pens I got to sell every day, 220 pens. I got to sell 220 pens every day to get to 1,100 pens at the end of the week. Did I sell 220 pens yesterday? Check. Today, hey, did you know that the right ink in your pen makes a difference in memory retention? Go on Facebook, do that again, share it a little bit. Wednesday morning, did I sell 220 pens the day before? Came at 440. I got another 660 pens to go. Got to sell 220 pens today. Now, so, okay, Monday I did who we are and what we did. We sell pens. On Tuesday, I got up and really quick just typed with my fingers, hey, did you know that blue ink is better for memory retention? That sounds good. Wednesday morning, I got to personalize things. Hey, did you know that the better and the more smoothly your writing surface is, or the more elegant your writing experience is, well, the increased likelihood that you're going to write more, you're going to memory retain, whatever you're going to say. So Wednesday, we're going to get up in the morning, we're going to talk about that. Cool. And then we wake up Thursday morning. Did I sell 220 pens yesterday? I did. Cool. 440 pens to go. Thursday morning, what did I do? Well, on Monday, I talked about that we sell pens. On Tuesday, I give a fact about pens. On Wednesday, I said, hey, if this is the kind of experience you got right now, here's what you're going to do with the right pen. Thursday, I guess I better tell them where to buy a pen. Hey, if you want a really cool pen, I got them. They come like this. They look really cool. And they come with extra ink. If you need a pen, let me know. I'm selling pens for a living. Okay, now it's Friday morning. I got 220 pens left to sell to get to 1,100. Okay. Monday, I talked about that we sold pens. Check. Tuesday, I talked about blue ink being better for memory. Check. Wednesday, I talked about the writing experience, how much better it is for you, how much smoother it is, the more likely you are to write more. Okay. And on Thursday, I told them where to buy pens. Shit, I did 4 things this week for my marketing. What are my competitors did? I'm going to give myself Friday off. I'm going to focus on my 220 sales, see what happened at the end of the week. Then I wake up Monday morning. Did 4 of these things all week last week. Really didn't see much activity, whatever. But I sold 1,102 pens. 2 more pens than I thought I was going to. Got $110 a pop. Made 1,200 and change. That ain't bad. I was up for the week. New week starts Monday morning. Oh, well, let's start it. So I got 220 pens to sell this week. Hey, I sell pens. Tuesday, did you know this about pens? Wednesday, what do you think when I tell you your writing experience is better when you think about this with pens? Thursday, you need to do this if you want to buy a pen from me. Friday, take it off, just focus on sales. It's 90 days from now. 4 days a week. Your business is talking about selling pens for a living. And no, don't talk about pens if you don't sell pens, okay? You're like, no, don't do that. Or you could if you really want to. Maybe we should start a pen company, all right? We're talking about an awful lot. It's 90 days from now. Your business has done something 4 days a week. It's done it 4 days a week for 13 weeks. It's talked about pens 50 times. Now people are paying attention. Now more people are coming back. Now you're 1,100 pens a week. Well, you're selling 100 a week because you just talk about pens every week on Facebook. Now your sales are still set at 110, which means every week you're starting to predict selling 1,200 pens instead of 1,100 pens. Because they're starting to come back, people are asking for a different type of pen. Some people are asking for a more expensive pen. They're asking for a $3 pen instead of a $1 pen. Out of your 1,200 transactions, 100 people are asking for a $3 pen. $3 pen costs 30 cents. $1 pen costs 10 cents. Now you're making $2.70 a pen instead of 90 cents. Starts to increase how much money you're making as you move forward. You move forward 6 months or a year. Your business has now talked about pens how many times? 200 times in the last year. Yours is the only business talking about pens. You're the only business providing information about pens. It's the only one giving people facts that relate to them about pens. And it's the only one that 52 times in the last year it said, if you need a pen, let me know. How much of an impact starts to get created on that sales column? If yours is likely 91 or 92% of the time, the only company talking about pens regularly if you sell pens. How quickly do you attract what you want and what you need out of business if yours is? Now magnify that for a moment, because remember I said advertising at the very beginning. Magnify that when you think that every week now when I talk about expenses, I'm going to budget in my expenses $5 to spend when I talk about how I sell pens for a living. On Monday, I'm going to spend $1.25 to make more people see me when I say, hey, I sell pens. On Tuesday, I'm going to spend $1.25 to get more people to see me when I talk about the fact that blue ink is better for your memory. On Wednesday, I'm going to spend $1.25 to get more people to see me when I talk about the fact that your writing experience increases the likelihood you're going to write more notes, remember better what you got, and more importantly, make the experience far more pleasurable. You're going to enjoy writing everything, whether it's business or personal. And then on Thursday, you're going to spend another $1.25 to make sure more people can hear you say, I sell pens. Now you go from 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 people or however many people you can get to listen to you personally and your pen page on Facebook to $1.25 every day increases that by 10%, 50%, 100%, 1,000%. Really depends how far that dollar is going to stretch based on who you're trying to sell pens to. So now you start to increase the amount of pens you're going to sell by simply talking about who you are and what you do. Did you know? What do you think? And give people an action to do next. In other words, if you need a pen, come here and get one. Marketing is not more complex than that. Now, all of the different devices, delivery tools, etc., that we can use, absolutely. It takes the technology. We have so many wonderful ways to deliver and so much complexity built into it. When you take the time just to activate by doing this, and so you go, Mitch, love the idea. going to handle my own marketing for a little bit, but ultimately I want to be able to pay somebody else to do it. Imagine setting up with a pro. And when we come through operations and hiring, because those two are so closely tied together, our last 20 minutes are going to be talking about those two, pretty much tied in with each other. When you go to a marketing partner, how much better does somebody who is now an expert at something, like you're an expert at selling pens, when you say to them, I talk about my business regularly like this. Here's the who's, what's we do. You need that information. Here's our facts and figures that educates people. Here's the things that relate to them far better. What do you think? How does this relate to you? And here's how I've been asking people to take action. Tell me I'm wrong and tell me how to improve it. Now that increase in our ability to advertise market effectively starts to escalate, skyrocket, starts to inflate. And because of that, our marketing does what? Increases our sales. But it won't do it tomorrow. But it will start to if you have a regular behavior, a regular and consistent behavior in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, by following along with just 4 simple pieces of information. These 4 simple pieces of information and just making sure that they happen consistently is the biggest regular shift you can create in business to escalate and grow your sales by doing what? More effectively marketing, by being more consistent and delivering more regularly to your audience. Now, for our last 17 minutes here together, we got these last 2 subjects, and they're big ones. They can be very, very heavy. Operations and hiring. In fact, the people who we got in our business, excuse me for a moment, have a great deal of complexity. In fact, when it comes to the people side, the hiring side, inside of human resources or human capital, people are considered the most complex portion of your business. Also, human capital being the most complex is also the only part of your business that will consistently grow given time. Every pen you buy to write with, every computer you use to work, or every book you're going to write in, the book will eventually fill up, the pen will run out of ink, and the computer will age out on you and not work as effectively. But the person who is using the pen and the book and the computer, as they spend more time in business, if you have invested in them, will actually get better at their job, have the capacity to be able to do more things, take on more stuff, and therefore become what? More profitable in your business. So when we talk about operations and hiring, they are synonymous because what we do in our business and who does it is desperately important to understand. So for both to make it work or make best sense of it, you have to know just 3 pieces of information. And these 3 pieces of information, so cash flow, how much cash I have, how much I'm going to make, right? What are my expenses? When do I pay people? How much do I have left over? 5 things to track with cash. Sales, 3 things to pay attention to. What am I charging? How many people do I sell to? How often do they come back? Can I change any of those 3 or all 3 to create an inflation? Marketing, 4 things. Do I talk about who we are and what we do? Do I give people facts and figures? Did you know? Do I make them think about it, relate it to them? What do you think when I say this? Is this relatable to you? What do you experience? And then, of course, give them action. Do this and do that. For operations and people to make sense, you need 3 pieces of information. A person to do the job, not Mitch or Dave or Mike or Matt or Lorette or anybody else. A person to do the job. Secondly, there's the process, the way they do the job. And the third piece of information we always need are the tools or things they do the job with. So to really make this work, you're going to take the cool pen I sold you, and you're going to take the cool little notebook, and you're going to do something really important on another page. You're going to draw a person. Now, you can make the best person in the world, or you can make the most terrible person in the world. I really don't care. I want you to draw a person. Under that, I want you to put 2 little letters, an M and an E. Me, who you are. That's all you got to do. Just put you down there. And now, right under that word me, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to give you permission to only keep this to 5 things. Okay? And the next 5 lines down, I want you to put a number in a circle next to them. So number it all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. There's you, me. You can put your name. You can write me. You can write you. It doesn't matter what it is. You can put 5 things. Next to those 5 things, I want you to write the 5 jobs in your business you did today. What are the 5 things you did in your business today? What are the 5 things you did for your business today? What are the 5? I did some sales. Okay. I did a little bit of bookkeeping. Okay. Sent out an invoice. Yeah. Called and bitched at a vendor. Okay. There we go. Talked to an employee about getting better at their job. Okay, cool. Then write those 5 things down, whatever they are. After you write down those 5 activities you did today, I want you to look at any of them and answer this question for yourself. How many of those do you do every day or you do regularly? In other words, do I do them every week? Do I do them every day? Do I do them multiple times a week? Is this something that I always come back to? If it's not something I always come back to, I want you to put a little question mark next to it. Everything that you come and you do regularly, you want to be able to understand. You want to say, this is regular, this is regular, this is regular. Now, regular doesn't have to mean it's every day or multiple times a day, but it comes up all the time. Cash flow. Hey, here's a thing that a business owner should do on a regular basis, whether a big business or whether a little business. When is that? That's weekly. Sales. Got a smaller business, chances are you're the one that's responsible for sales. So odds are good you're going to be selling probably every day. Marketing. Well, we just discussed that a little bit, but marketing, hey, I got to do that 4 times a week. All right. And hey, for your business, you came to this seminar. Cool. So put down Cammidge seminar, shift business. Okay, there you go. That's a one-time thing. So you can put a question mark next to it. Now, I'd love to see you at the next one, but chances are you're just coming to this one. Okay. So put a little question mark next to it. The things that you do most frequently become part of your regular job. Every person that shows up in your business, I want you to give yourself permission again. And I always say that all the time. Why? Because I want you to be able to play along. If you're not comfortable playing along, then Friday afternoon, go enjoy a patio. But if you want to keep learning, instead, take a blank piece of paper and put, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 more stick figures. Put 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 more people, however many people you want to do. Now, every one of those people, you're going to give a label to for the very first time. So the first one in the top, I'm going to put the label is going to say sales. This person, their primary job is going to be selling things. The next person over, I'm going to put bookkeeping. Ooh, that's always a heavy duty one. Bookkeeping. There we go. Next person over, I'm going to put administration. I got 5 people here, so I'm going to do the name. You know what? I decided that I want another salesperson. I want another salesperson because I want to make more sales. So I got a salesperson, a bookkeeper, an administrator, another salesperson. And this 5th person, what do I have in my business? You know what? I'm going to label that one me. 5 people in my business. I got me. I got a salesperson. I got a salesperson 2.0. I got a bookkeeper, and I got an administrator. Okay. So now I've gone to the trouble of labeling these people. What 5 things are these people going to do on a regular basis? You just drew yours for a moment. What 5 you did today or what 5 you're doing regularly this week. What 5 should these people be doing on a regular basis? Now, for hiring and for operations, this is a part of the person process stuff. So I'm going to paint a big picture for a moment. If you can take an endless series of stick figures and you could put 3 to 5 jobs that are going to be the things that they're going to do most frequently, or more importantly, 3 to 5 jobs that they're going to spend 60 to 80% of their time doing on a regular basis, you've just figured out somebody that's going to do a job, so a person, and you figured out the process, the bulk of the stuff they're going to do on a regular basis. After you figure out the 3 to 5 things they're going to spend the bulk of their time on, in other words, 60 to 80% of their time is going to be spent doing this, then we can figure out next 2 or 3 or 4 lines down, what stuff they need to do the job. Do they need a phone? Do they need a computer? Do they need a drill? Do they need a jackhammer? Do they need accounting software? Do they need running shoes? Do they need body armor because you're so successful that your stick figure up here has all these people working for you? And now you need somebody to come along as a bodyguard and they're going to need body armor because they're going to protect you, right? Whatever it is, we want to put the stuff that's going to help them do their job. What's going to make their life easier? Because for us, me here, or me up here, whatever I do the bulk of most of the time is where I actually need to spend the bulk of my time in. Everything now that really doesn't fit or doesn't fit for any of the people over here on a regular basis needs to come on the bottom and go into a bucket. That bucket is either doing one of two things. It means that we've given jobs to people that they don't quite match what they're supposed to be doing. Or if people are already really busy with the 3 to 5 things they're supposed to be doing, we're starting to create new jobs in business. The moment we create new jobs in business, now we're starting to do what? Pick a new process and a new tool for business. So I want you to stay on me for a moment, because chances are, if you've got a small to medium business, this is going to be a function that you've got an awful lot of. And here's where I talk to you about efficiency and, more importantly, savings. Most small business owners, and we're going to talk 10 and less employees for sure, are somehow involved in their accounting and bookkeeping on a regular basis. So chances are, if you wrote bookkeeping down for one of your 5 things that maybe you did this week, you're not going to be in a line. Something happens all the time. Here's food for thought. The average small business owner, 10 employees or less, is going to spend about 4 hours a week on bookkeeping. So that means you're going to spend about 16 hours a month doing bookkeeping. Okay. The average small business owner, and so this is a good example, something to take away and think about. Remember I said take some stuff away, think about it, and then come back to it on Monday when you're looking at the jobs you're supposed to do? When you wake up Monday morning, I want you to look at the 3 to 5 jobs that you're supposed to be doing and tell me why you've got anything else in there that isn't those 3 to 5 things. But Mitch, I'm the only person in my business. Then what do you have to do? You either need another person or you need a better process and tool. In other words, something needs to move away. Consistently, time and again, bookkeeping becomes a crutch that a lot of business owners fall into. The average small business owner in Canada spends 4 hours a week on their bookkeeping, averaging 16 hours a month. The average small business owner in Canada pays themselves $74,000 a year, which means the average small business owner is worth $37 an hour. Okay? If you spend 16 hours a month doing your own bookkeeping, how much money does it cost your business to pay you to be their bookkeeper? Just over $500 a month. The average small business bookkeeper is going to spend 4 hours a month doing the same books, and the average cost for a bookkeeper for 4 hours a month of bookkeeping is $220, which means the 16 hours a month you're going to invest in bookkeeping is going to cost you $500 in your own labor, whereas if you paid somebody else, you would take back those 16 hours yourself for anything else to do inside a business or the most important functions you've got. And that cost to your business is only going to be $220. So you're going to save $300 and 16 hours of your time by hiring a bookkeeper. That is one of the places that we lose when it comes to our operations. And more importantly, we consider hiring people. Now, hiring doesn't just mean people that work for us. Hiring means having somebody else to do a function for our business that shouldn't be our job. Every big business either pays for in-house, in other words, CFOs, accounting, account payable and account receivable people, or hires out to an accounting agency to do it. Senior managers and leaders in larger companies look at the financials to make best sense, are held to task for budgets and sales, etc. But somebody who's the sales manager isn't responsible for the financial reporting in a business or handling the accounting and bookkeeping. They're responsible for meeting or exceeding their sales expectations. A person who's in charge of human resources in a bigger business is responsible for maintaining the budget. In other words, the amount of money that's being spent on employees overall. They have to make sure that everybody that works for the business matches inside that budget, but they don't balance the budget on a regular basis. And the CEO is the one where the buck stops, if you will, pun intended, when we're talking about financials, to the financial health of the business and being able to understand what's going on so they can make informed decisions. But that is the task of the CFO or the outside accounting counsel, the person responsible for collecting, gathering, sorting, and understanding all that information. So for us, a takeaway from a big business at the very front end is that bookkeeping, because we tend to think of it as cost savings for ourselves. Well, I know my business better. I'm going to be the one sending my invoices in a timely fashion. I know when I have to pay a bill, and I just rather do it myself because it gives me more security. Costs you more in the form of process, tool, and time, actual physical dollars, than if you sent it to somebody else. So when we add other people in jobs, if we're already willing to give ourselves new jobs that likely are not deploying us to our best ability, chances are we're giving employees tasks that don't match the job that they're supposed to be doing. Sales shouldn't do accounting. Accounts shouldn't do sales, right? Makes sense. Administrators, well, what job do they have? What are they supposed to do? Just answer the phone? Just answer emails? Now, when you take this away to think about and come to a Monday morning, I want you to think about one more thing, people, process, tool. So the jobs you do and the tools you do to use it, the tools you use to do those jobs. There we go, all the words in the right sentence. How much time do you spend on this? How much time do you spend here? How much time do you spend doing this? How much time do you spend writing invoices, following up on emails? How much time are you spending invested in any other function, if you are you yourself in you business, that isn't selling more pens? If you have a business of 5 people, like my hypothetical is an example where I got 2 people selling, how much of my time throughout the day needs to be spent selling if I got 2 people selling? Or how much time of my day is spent talking to the salespeople to figure out whether they sold what? 220 pens today, because every person has to sell how many pens? 1,100 pens. I got to sell 1,100 pens this week. You got to sell 220. You got to sell 220 because our business has to sell 2,200 pens this week, or we ain't paying the bills. So when we look at our operations and our hiring, operations in business actually is an incredibly complex structure that we can break down to just 3 pieces of information. Who is the person that does the job, and what are the 3 to 5 things that that person has to do for the bulk of their time? Next, what things do they have to do their job with? And the final piece of information is when they have 60 to 80% of their time. So if a person has to spend between 25 and 35 hours a week doing 3 to 5 of the most important jobs, anything that takes away from that time now has to go into a bucket to do what? Either create a new job or go to somebody else, service provider, etc. Remember, process, tool. And bookkeeping is a great example where time and resources are better spent doing other things. If you were a small business owner and you know that you do accounting and bookkeeping on a regular basis in your business, unless you're an accountant or bookkeeper, and you can save 16 hours a month, it's going to cost you $220. Can those 16 hours be better spent in sales? How many more pens at $1.10 do you think you can sell with another 16 hours in the next month? 4 hours a week, right? How many other functions could you perform inside of your business with an average of 4 hours a week just by getting rid of bookkeeping? These are the things that continue to fault people all the time. Now, I've dealt with big businesses. So, one of the most stark examples, I won't say what the company's name is. I met a business owner once, and he had just 2 other managers with him, senior leadership. So he had himself, a COO, chief operations officer, and a business development manager. And then they had 1 administrator that handled all of their administration for the business. They had 800 employees and only 3 managers. They didn't have field supervisors. They didn't have anybody that managed which meant that the COO and the business owner spent all of their time managing 800 employees, and the business development person handled the sales for the entire company. Now, I applauded the 3 of them working together because they did, $300 million in business. But one of them got sick one time. And what happened to the business? They had 1 failed contract. What happened to the business? Because they hadn't addressed where the primary functions in just their management team needed to go to, they had squished it all together, and everybody was doing the job of 2 or 3 people at a time. And because they spent so much time doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people, when they had to go manage the regular staff, and they were in production, they were in industrial manufacturing, there was how much inefficiency? Well, that business that year, and it's why we were brought in the first place, went from 300 million in sales to 60 million in sales in 90 days, and from 800 employees to 80. At the end of the year, they had rebounded back up to their regular sales, what they consider the regular sales. but they'd only brought back in 220 staff. So over the course of a year, they didn't choose to downsize. The marketplace dictated that for them. So they had to go through a volatile shift immediately. But by the time they came back with just 200 staff, so a quarter of the staff they had previously, they were able to service the same amount of business. But you know what they also had? Other managers and senior leaders inside the business. So for us to make best sense of operations, and we're going a little over time here, so I'll expedite this for you. When we look at our operations and our hiring, when we create things, you need to look simplistically at your business by saying, who's the person that does the job? What are the 3 to 5 things they have to do most regularly? What stuff is going to make them better, faster, more efficient at their job? And every time there's a job that doesn't make sense, put it in a bucket. When that bucket fills up 3 to 5 tasks, what do you have? A brand new job. So now let's talk about the hiring. And this is not to rush it, because hiring, of course, is incredibly complex, like everything else that we talked about today, except that it's really not. So here's your best hiring practice. And yes, I've got a great deal of HR experience, training in the past, but that's irrelevant compared to something that's going to make better sense from anybody who's ever interviewed and hired one really successful employee. So here's your part steps for hiring. 1, create an ad. Makes sense? Put an ad out and advertise to people. Try not to hire amongst your family and friends. Okay. Part 2, when people show up, look to see if they've got, of course, relevant experience. Part 3, interview at least 2 times. I don't care if you're hiring for entry level or you're hiring for C-suite and 6-figure executives. You always interview at least 2 times. Why? Because everybody on a first interview, including us that's doing the interview, is what's called the first date rule. Who's ever been on a first date? Who's ever been on a first date, right? At all, ever been on a first date? Would you agree that we're probably the prettiest and most charming at any time in our life as we are as when we're on a first date? At least by the second date, you get a sense of the personality. By the third date, you kind of know who the real person is. And by the 5th or the 8th or the 10th date or 3 months in, you got a pretty good sense of this person and whether you really like them or not. But first date, we're always the prettiest and never any other time in our lives. Maybe when we get married, or maybe when something terrible happens. And what do? We're on another brand new first date, right? Who's ever had a more than one first date experience? Once again, we tend to be the shiniest objects in the room. So when we interview to hire people, we want to interview more than one time. Why? We want to have more than one date. Because looking at a resume or hearing somebody talk about what they've got, we're actually looking for the most important criteria ever. Are we compatible? Which is why I use dating analogy when I talk about hiring. Can I spend 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day with this individual? Would I enjoy being in their company? Do I think they're complementary? And then, do I think the skills they have will be a benefit? In other words, if I'm hiring a salesperson or a bookkeeper or an administrator, are they going to fit well because of their background and experience then as a salesperson or bookkeeper or administrator? And if then they got the good technical ability, my first measurement is always, will they fit really well with me or whoever their coworkers and managers are going to be? The amount of loss in revenue, time, and suffering, pain and suffering, just plain dysfunction inside of a business that comes because of clashing personalities, once again, is staggeringly high. So I'm going to summarize our 5 for us today to make sure you got all your notes in one place really clear so that you can start to make a shift in business. And of course, we're going to be closing out for the day. To make a significant shift in business, you need 5 things. You need cash flow, sales, marketing, operations, and hiring. In our cash flow, you need to know how much money you've got now, how much you have to make this week, when and how much you got to pay people, how much and how many and when we got to pay our expenses, and how much money we got left over. This is an every week function. Sales is an everyday function for business. How many sales do we make? What price do we sell at? How often do people come back? Can we start to manipulate any of those stats by at least 10%. If we do, we can create an increase in the amount of money we make in our business. Marketing. Does our business regularly talk about who we are and what we do? Does it regularly provide facts and figures? Did you know? Information that's relevant to our audience. Does it ask people if they experience similar things to us by making them think? What do you think when I say this? And lastly, does it give them clear and concise directions? Take this action when you're doing this or interacting with our business. Operations. Every person in my business, can I write down who they are, what their role is, the 3 to 5 things they have to do on a regular basis, what tools they use, and if they've got more than 3 to 5 primary functions, does it fit for the job they've got? And if it doesn't, put it in a bucket till you create enough to do what? Bring in another person to handle that stuff. And hiring, finally. First date rule is in effect at all times when you're hiring, which means create a job ad, interview 2 or more times, fit their technical skill to the new bucket full of stuff that you got to create for a new person. And more importantly, do you think that they're good after the second or third date? In other words, you can all get along together, or they're going to get along with the people they're going to work with. Because if they don't, that is your most important hiring criteria before considering, can they technically do the job we're asking? To create a massive shift in business, and once more, I'm going to invite you to do the last thing, to do yourself one more favor. Save the chat that you have right now, take it with you, and follow up with the people that are on here. Ask them about their business, get to know each other. Because the first thing that I said today before anything else was there's a 6th out of these 5 that is your real secret sauce, and that's the relationships you invested in business. The relationships increase sales, help you with your cash flow, educate you, give you advice in your marketing. We'll be able to provide advice and suggestions inside those operations. And of course, if you've got to hire, the better your business network, the more likely you are to find really good people, because people will know what you're looking for. Next, to create a massive impact and shift in business, you have just 5 things. And these are things that as a business owner, you have to look at every single week. Now, you might not hire every week, but you always have to consider, first of all, and I'm going to work from here backwards, do the people I have fit really well for my business? The people I do have right now, do I know what their job is? Do they know what it is? Do they know what their primary functions are? And have I given them the tools to be able to do the job effectively? When I market, did I talk about the who and what we do? Give people facts and figures. Did you know? Make it relatable to people by saying, hey, do you experience this yourself? And then give them a clear course of action to do next. When I sell, do I know how many sales I have to make? At what price I need to make it at? And can I get people to come back, buy more at a specific time, or refer or rebuy on a regular basis? And lastly, on a regular basis, I need to look at how much cash I've got on hand. How much I need to make. Of course, that sets the tone for sales, right? When I got to pay people and expenses, how much I've got left over. Is it holding the line? Is it increasing or is it decreasing? All 5 of these will consistently lead to a business creating what is a bulletproof business environment. Businesses that become can't fail. When a business becomes can't fail, and when we look at those first 3, understand this. Your first 3 gives you clear direction on whether or not the money's doing well, how much of an impact you can create in a hurry this week on whether you got more money or not. Long-term, attract more. And then when it comes to becoming efficient inside the business, who's doing a best job? How do we improve what they're working on? And if we got to add people, bing, do they fit like we're dating? Now, I invite you to shift your business. Take your notes, have a good read, put them away for the weekend, get out in the sunshine. But when you come back to it Monday morning, give yourself permission to create a change and an impact in your business. And if Monday morning comes and you look at this and say, it makes sense, but I still really don't know what to do, then do what? Invest in relationships. Invest in other people to help either hold you accountable, educate you, or teach you how to do things more than anything else. And if it still doesn't make sense at that point, you're going, I'm not going to do it. then you've wasted these 2 hours, because I can tell you empirically that businesses that consistently do these things improve given time. And the faster they choose to adopt, the more likely business success comes, and more importantly, the faster they will grow. So 5 things done regularly on a week-to-week basis that when the practice and the behavior is well-founded inside of your business, starts to increase, accelerate, takes very little time, and starts to increase, of course, that very first one, which is your cash flow. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, this is Shift Business. 5 things to take away, do more effectively for your business, and be able to create that impact. Thank you for joining us today. Of course, your chat information is here. You need more information, you can come and find me at mitchcammidge.com. And anybody that's here, I will be following up after to make sure the information was helpful and useful. And if you need help, of course, we will be right here to provide advice and suggestions to you. Thank you for so much coming in and joining us today. I know it's a fantastic day out there. I want the rest of you to get out there, enjoy some of it, take the information you've got, make and create the opportunity to shift business for yourself. And your business and what you have created will become greater, better, faster, stronger, bulletproof, and more importantly, will grow the way you want it to. And that is the best gift that we can give ourselves. So give yourself permission to do that. Shift your business, and you are going to get what you need and what you want from 2021 and beyond. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Reach out to me at any time. It's been fantastic to share this with you, and have a fantastic rest of your day.